Good day to everybody. Thank you, Ray, and the NewMR team for giving us a forum to share some of the research that we've conducted. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about assessing the value of a mobile app, ask more and receive more. I'd like to thank everybody for attending the webinar as well, and hopefully today you'll get some new bits of information to learn as we all evolve our understanding of mobile market research and the landscape. So let's get started. Earlier this year, Paradigm Sample, Soapbox Sample, and Kinesis combined our girl power, if you will, and teamed up to conduct research on research around the use of survey apps. While the value of a survey app in the market research is well understood in terms of the enhanced functionality, it's less understood in terms of the potential trade-offs with respect to the quality and thoughtfulness of research responses. We all know that it requires more effort from a respondent to evaluate and download an app and check it from time to time for updates and invitations. Essentially, it is a bigger investment from a respondent point of view to get engaged through the app versus other traditional methods. In addition, there's probably there are added privacy policies associated with the app for text messaging or location-based messaging. And with that requires more issues related to privacy as well by having the need to have opt-ins for those capabilities. So in general, the use of an app infers to some that there's actually more of a privacy intrusion given the level of data access that a respondent enables for the research firm. As a result, for a respondent, this could be a point of contention. Yet, as we've seen, especially even with today's presentations, many newer market research solutions are built solely off of apps today, and most research firms have incorporated app-based solutions into their arsenal. So clearly, respondents like us are adapting to them. In exchange for the increased burden of the participation, apps typically generate greater rewards for panelists, especially when there's location-based information to be used. So when we stepped back and we thought about what our goal for our study was, our goal for the study was to understand if these factors impact the quality of responses, and if so, how, as well as potential biases to the respondent pool when taking an app-based approach. More specifically, our research objectives included: 1, to determine if there's a greater spirit of volunteerism and satisfaction in one group versus another based upon which mode a respondent was answering a survey from. We wanted to determine if the quality or the response difference what was the quality or response difference among these groups. We wanted to understand if app-based engagement delivers as much as a traditional online survey does for market research, or could it possibly deliver even more? And lastly, and less tangibly, assess the value of the app in today's market research environment. Our approach was quite straightforward. Our audience was broad. We targeted general consumers in the U.S. population. They had to be 18 years of age or older, and obviously had to own a smartphone. Respondents actually had the choice to answer a survey in any one of these 3 methods. They could use their mobile device and complete a survey using a mobile browser. They could respond via mobile device and complete their survey through an app, or they could take a survey through their PC or laptop in a more traditional sense. All respondents saw the same survey questions. Fielding was done concurrently, actually just recently in mid-June 2015, and the survey content was about smartphone usage. So as we embarked on this research, we wanted to understand what research was already published as it related to behavior in-app and also on traditional online. And we did discover that Pew Research did a similar study in April 2015. The most interesting to us about this research is that they found that the app response rates were actually lower than web rates overall for each of the 14 surveys they conducted. Those who were asked to take the survey on a web browser were more likely to complete at least one survey than those using apps to take the survey, resulting in overall response rates of 84% and 58% respectively. However, the difference in the Pew Research was that respondents were actually assigned to a particular type of treatment and not allowed to select the device of their choosing. As a result, we do results would be replicated in our study, since we actually allowed respondents to select their own mode of response. So what did we find? Well, we all know we've been going down the mobile road for a few years now, and much of the research that's been presented has proven what we intuitively know, that mobile surveys need to be shorter, we need to eliminate grids, and generally less in one survey occasion. But where do we obtain the most satisfied respondent overall? Several factors are beginning to suggest to us that the app audience may be actually more approachable, more engaged, and generally willing to give us more than other audiences. By that we mean if a respondent's willing to download the app, then we can actually consider them to be highly participatory. First, it's important to note that across all segments, the majority of the time spent on mobile devices is spent while using apps. I don't think that's a surprise when you look at our own personal behavior and how we use our smartphones. Clearly, apps are providing a beneficial mobile experience, and consumers have adjusted to that in their day-to-day life. As the results were not that significantly different across the three segments, indicating approximately 2/3 of the time, irrespective of how they respond to the survey, people are using an app rather than a browser. What this fact indicates is that the manner in which an individual responds to a survey may have more to do with how a person is invited, how the invitation is sent, or in manner in which they are accustomed to responding than any underlying behavioral differences in how individuals interact with their smartphones, at least across general audiences. Furthermore, those who answered our survey using their app, they were more likely to represent an audience that are early adopters in other ways, or at least insofar as wearable devices are concerned. You can see the results here. Among app-based respondents, 47% of consumers have or plan to buy a wearable device in the next 12 months versus mobile web at 34% and online web at 25%. Several factors are beginning to suggest to us that the app audience may be more approachable, more engaged, and generally willing to give us more than other audiences. For instance, we followed up with the question on wearable device, and we took it one step further. We asked respondents if they would be willing to respond to a single survey question through their wearable device, even though it would be intrusive as it appears on their device. The results were not too surprising in the app-based response, in that the app-based respondents were much more likely to participate in this type of data collection versus mobile web respondents and online respondents. And if you just look at that in itself, it doesn't mean much, but let's compare some of this information to the beginning. So for instance, app users in our research actually had the highest completion rate of 75% among all three segments. And this is in sharp contrast to the Pew research that we mentioned in the beginning. The data suggests that the panelists responding via app complete the same survey faster than those using a mobile browser. While this is not an inherent indication of satisfaction, it is easy to see how this could help make them more satisfied with the experience overall. And it also may be part why they are most likely to rate the survey as very easy to take. As we can see, 86% of those using the app rated as very easy to take the survey. To be really clear, they were actually taking it, the actual survey was actually being optimized in a browser link that was embedded in the app. So essentially, they were taking the exact same survey as those invited via mobile browser. It's simply a shift in perception by the respondents as to where they're taking the survey. So while our data are limited in the context of time spent using apps, it could be that the app experience actually keeps respondents most satisfied. But what about quality? An engaged respondent is generally believed to deliver a higher quality response. Is that the case when using an app? In our questionnaire, we had 3 scale table questions that were included in the survey, and were checked for straight lining. Results were similar, not statistically different across 3 methods, with that about 1 in 10 or fewer were straight lining. And then our last indication of engagement, the final task, which was optional, was to ask respondents to take a selfie and share the pictures, to share the pictures with us. Again, proving out a bit more that the app-based audience is more engaged and hence had a much higher participation rate in submitting selfies. And we actually spared you guys the pictures today. So based upon the findings that respondents have a better experience on a mobile app and that survey findings reflect a little bit better satisfaction and cooperation than mobile web and online respondents. We know this is an area that needs further research and it still scratches the surface. But we do believe, and of course the biases will diminish over time, we do believe that this also needs careful review going forward as well. So with that, if anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer.